Hello, 各位大家好. This is STM. I'm a longtime player of the beat'em up game 小朋友齐打交2, also known internationally as Little Fighter 2 or LF2 for short. This is a serious video regarding the gameplay and conduct of another LF2 player, 星光闪电, also known as Stars Lightning or Starslight for short. As you can see, I'm recording his YouTube channel and highlighting certain videos. 这是因为我最近发现闪电的视频有些很奇怪的差异，表明他的 LF2 视频不是即时玩的，而是用 TAS 玩的，然后编辑视频。I will be detailing the discrepancies in Starslight's videos in chronological order, and explain why I believe Starslight's gameplay is tool-assisted and spliced. 我的华语其实不是很好，所以 the rest of the video will be in English, but I will be including Chinese subtitles. Without further ado, let's begin with the first video. Alright, first video is RNLF2. I want you to pay attention to the sound. As you can hear, he can record the sound perfectly. There's no problem with the sound. However, once he jumps in-game, there is no sound at all. Now, this is very strange. He's clearly able to record the sound without any problems. So why does he choose to mute the in-game sound at all? Here's another section. He's still muted even after the BGM ends. And then you hear something. Now, look at the flashing text. It's a lot slower than normal LF2. I'll move on to the later section of his video just to show you the difference in speed. Now look over here, it's so much faster. Let's move back to the previous section just to compare the speed. See, it's so much slower. And here's a demonstration from my own LF2. As you can see, this is the original speed. Now I change it to 50%, and you will see that it slows down. Judging by Starslight's video, I suspect that he set his speed to 10 FPS, which is 33%. Alright, there's another section I need to highlight. So over here, take a look at the torch. It suddenly speeds up for some reason, and you can also hear the sound being cut off. Compare this to my own RNLF2 playthrough. The cutscene is short enough that there's no need to press F5, so there's no reason for the torch to speed up either. In summary, inconsistent sound and video speed. Let's move on to the next video. Okay, before I proceed any further, I need to show you a lot of things about LF2's behavior. First, I'm going to turn on the recording, as you can see here, and then start the game. You can see I have two mouse cursors. One belongs to my Windows cursor, the other one belongs to LF2. This is perfectly normal. By the way, notice that my cursor does not randomly jump positions. Now, what I'm going to do is to immediately select stage 5, then use Cheat Engine to set the speed to 1%. Now, LF2 doesn't detect inputs very well at low speed, but I want you to see how LF2 behaves when I start the game. Okay, so you can see the sound and the alpha text appears at the same time, and the torch always starts at f2.bmp. Now, I'm going to start stage 5 again. LF2 is not detecting my input, so I'll have to let go and hold it down again. File will usually no longer start from f2 because the game has been running for some time. Keep this in mind as it doesn't just affect this video, but almost every other Starslight video. I forgot to show that Stars was recording himself booting up the game. This is pretty important since Stars does this for almost every single one of his videos. I sped out the footage as Stars has a habit of taking a very long time before starting the game. Two places to pay attention to, the bottom left corner and the torches. Notice that the LFR text does not start early, always appearing only at the start of the game instead of slightly before. And the flames start at F9 instead of F2. This part is just to acknowledge that the video is glitched. You can still find the footage from a separate video. However, the ending is very suspicious. The fire jumps from F1 to F8. You would never skip a whole 7 frames in LF2 like this. Let's move on to the next video. The correct name of this mod is LF2MH by AGR. Here's just to show the loading screen. I find it strange that Stars made the effort to record himself starting up LF2, yet he does not want to show the transition effect between stages. Let me show what it looks like when he goes from stage 1 to stage 2. It's the same for the other stages, so I'll be skipping those in the interest of time. Let's just assume it's an editing decision to shorten the video. However, I cannot overlook the speed discrepancy at the end of this Starslight video. Over here you can see that its MP regenerated from half to almost full, so there's obvious cutting over there. More importantly, Henry's shooting and the ending text is slightly slower than usual, even within Star's own video. Let's count the frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Let's compare this to another part of the video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now it should be noted that this particular stars video is recorded in 60 FPS, which is double of LF2's 30 FPS. Nevertheless, 16 divided 24 gives 67%. Meanwhile, the ending flash in stars video is 14 frames, which translates to 7 in 30 FPS, which is slower than LF2's 5 per 30 FPS, and 5 divided by 7 gives about 70%. In summary, odd editing choice and evidence of slow game speed. Let's move on to the next video. This is DRSTD. There's very clear signs of editing for this one. First mistake, you can see the part of the cutscene over here. Second mistake, recording cancelled. But why would LFR be cancelled if you did not turn on LFR recording? Also, the join game sound is missing. Also, he cut off part of the ending, and he added his own ending sound at the same time as the results table. LF2 will always play the ending sound earlier than the results table. Just to show you that the ending has indeed been cut, let me show you another guy's YouTube video. The video unfortunately has no sound, but you can see the correct behavior in the HP bar. In summary, attempting to hide evidence of LFR recording via video editing. Let's move on to the next video. Rudolph C5, Windows mouse is being recorded, mouse teleported once here, you can see him move his Windows cursor away, leaving only the LF2 cursor. And it teleported again right over here. No early LFR text as usual, and the fire starts at FD instead of F2. At the end, when the results table appears, the sound suddenly becomes louder. Also, the fire jumped from F5 to F8. In summary, the mouse, the torch, and the sound. Let's move on to the next video. This is a guide to using Julian. It's a heavily edited video, but as you can see, no recording. Recording cancelled. Let's move on to the next video. 3 different characters, so the video is necessarily edited. However, here's one. LFR text will never disappear on the same frame. Secondly, the join sound has been cut off. Third, the LFR suddenly changes date and time. Last but not least, the fire jumps from F3 to F6. Let's move on to the next video. LF2 Hongba. Even if the video is heavily edited, there is no reason for jump cuts in the gameplay. No early LFR and the join sound gets cut off. Sudden jump in frames. Another jump, even the sound gets cut off. If you did the math, the enemy regenerated in 7 frames instead of 12 frames. Let's move on to the next video. Deep, full, crazy stage mode. I'll show the loading screen. As you can see, the Windows cursor is being recorded, but more importantly, the LF2 cursor will teleport. Right here. No early LFR again. Again, same as LF2 MH, no transition between stages, but more importantly, the difficulty text disappears. This will never happen in LF2. Over here, LFR text disappears on the same frame. Again, a behavior that would never happen in LF2. No stage transition again, and difficulty text is missing again. And of course, as mentioned again, no stage transition between 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. Let's move on to the next video. Freeze C5. Oh boy, this is quite a doozy. Windows mouse cursor is being recorded. The mouse cursor teleports twice. Once here. Notice he moved his mouse cursor away. The mouse teleports a second time, and it's the Windows mouse. The Windows mouse should not disappear on the character select screen, yet it does. No early LFR as usual. Fire starts at FC instead of F2. The victory sound suddenly lowers. And if you pay attention to the screen resolution, the size of the game at the beginning does not match the size of the game at the end. By the way, I didn't show it in this video, but the ending speed is about 70% as well. Let's move on to the next video. Henry C5. Loading screen as usual. Mouse cursor teleport again. One here. Move this mouse cursor away. Two here. Again, no early LFR. Fire starts at F6 instead of F2. At the end, fire jumps from F1 to FD to F1. Let's move on to the next video. No LFR text, wrong torch. Torch jumps from FD to F4. Another case of slow ending text. I'll let the video demonstrate by itself. Let's move on to the next video. Okay, some backstory is needed for this one. Starslide streamed himself playing LF2 during the Dragon Boat Festival of 2021. Note that it's a live stream, not a video premiere like usual. However, the stream itself has been unlisted, so you will not be able to find it without the URL link. I won't be doing any jump cuts for this section because I need to show you the live stream and compare it to the re-upload of John's section. The live stream itself appeared to have a lot of technical issues, but that doesn't excuse the two things I'm about to show you. Firstly, in the live stream, you can hear the join sound. However, for the re-upload, there is no join sound at all. This should not happen at all if he simply cuts his video from the live stream. But lo and behold, within his own video, there is evidence of him playing pre-recorded videos during a live stream. You can see the same mistake in both the live stream and the re-upload. Do you see that? The video went back in time, and you can see the LFR interface. Oh, and by the way, why does an LFR replay exist when there is no sign of recording taking place in the game? I can only conclude that video editing was used to remove any trace of the LFR replay being recorded. This by itself is very clear evidence, but I'm going to keep going. There's more. Next video. Number 1, no early LFR, and the difficulty text is missing. Number 2, there's a sudden change in the video quality. Compare this previous frame and the next frame. The change in quality happens another 2 more times at the ending. Here's one. And the last one here. Let's move on to the next video. Okay, before I proceed, there's 2 things I need to clarify. First, I'm aware he's using the widescreen version. However, the widescreen version only changes the resolution and a few minor details. It does not change the behavior of transition frames, the LFR text, and everything else I've mentioned so far. Secondly, I'm going to show you my own full stage playthrough. This is to show you how the real transition in LF2 behaves. Notice that LF2 goes completely black. Even the interface is gone. However, you will see a new recording text during this black screen. Alright, no early LFR as usual. This time he tried to show the transition, but as I showed you earlier, he's missing the blank screen. Besides the transition, the difficulty text is missing. Same thing here, no transition, no difficulty text. And one more time, transition and difficulty. There's one last thing in this video. LFR text disappears on the same frame. Let's move on to the next video. Henry 84, no early LFR as usual. Difficulty text is missing. Let's move on to the next video. Firen C5, I'm skipping through the intro. No early LFR, and fire starts at FA instead of F2. Random Windows error sound. Sound got cut off. Again, no sound. But how do you manage to press D down J when LF2 is out of focus? From my understanding, this will only happen if you click outside of LF2, and therefore cause the LF2 window to lose focus. However, if you lose focus in LF2, it means that you cannot control your character anymore. So, how did he manage to breathe fire? In the ending, the fire jumped from F2 to F9, and the ending text is about 70% speed as well. Quick mention, these two videos do not have early LFR. To the modder in Brazil, your stage may have been cleared with more than just the so-called AI bug. Firen C5 is supposed to be the last video, however, something just came fresh out of the oven. This came out on 2nd July 2022. Same thing, no early LFR. Flashing light warning, I applied a black filter over here. His video glitched out at this moment, causing his sound to desync. Over here, the LFR date and time changed. Okay, so it's recording with Bandicam. Next frame is a bright red screen. 3, 2, 1, now! Okay, so on this red screen, you can still see LF2's bottom black bar. It's in a very high quality, almost as though it's a picture. Given what we know now, it's likely that he's using this to disguise his replays as authentic gameplay. That covers all the videos I'll be touching on. I'd like to conclude this with my closing thoughts. One thing I'd like to be clear is that there is nothing wrong with TAS or video editing by themselves. It takes time to create content and polish it for an audience, and I respect the commitment. However, there is a line that must never be crossed. You must never present edited or assisted gameplay as authentic. Now, I need to provide some context on how this whole situation unfolded. 12 to 14 June 2021 last year was a long weekend because of the Dragon Boat Festival. Starslight and another LF2 player, Koichi Ken, both became active at the same time on YouTube. On Saturday 12 June 2021, Stars uploaded an LFR replay of Widescreen Survival D44 with Davis. The next day on the 13th, Ken uploaded an LFR replay of Crazy Stage 5 with Davis. The following day, the 14th, Stars started the Dragon Boat Festival livestream, which I've covered earlier in this video. The day after, on the 15th, Stars would premiere each section of his Stage 3 gameplay from the livestream, while Ken uploaded an LFR replay of his Crazy Stage 5 with Deep. Things would go quiet until Friday 18 June, when Ken uploaded another LFR replay of Crazy Stage 5, this time with Lois. This is also the same day that Stars made a community poll on his channel to find out how much people knew about TAS. Then, on Sunday, 20 June 2021, Starslight released this video talking about tool-assisted runs, specifically by pausing with F2 and using the ability to save load from virtual machine. As a side note, he did not mention FPS changes. Now, it should be noted that at that point in time, Ken's videos were not marked as TAS in the title. However, it is generally understood that LFR recordings are not a reliable proof of authenticity, because they are simply demo files that record the player's inputs and the random seed. They do not record the actual FPS. Starslight pointed out that this fact is not obvious to the casual audience, and that all tool-assisted gameplay should be marked as TAS. This is a good and valid point, but take a moment to consider the whole sequence of events. Starslight and Ken were both active and uploading videos at the same time. While Starslight did not mention Ken by name, It was clear by the timing of his video that he was referring to Ken. Starzlight could have reached out to Ken and expressed his concerns privately, but instead chose to humiliate Ken in the most public way possible. Ken suffered an increase in dislikes on his videos as a result, though Ken has since labeled his video titles with TAS, and things eventually settled down. Fast forward to about 2 months ago. I got tipped off that there were discrepancies in Starzlight's videos. I booted up my own LF2 and compared it with the claims being made. The behaviors really did not match up. I was shocked. I thought that Starzlight's videos were legitimate because they did not have the LFR playback interface. I did not believe that someone would go through all that effort to edit his videos, just to hide the fact that his LF2 gameplay was played back from an LFR. But if even one video is found to be edited, it is reasonable to believe that all other videos are edited as well. So I investigated all of Starzlight's non-LFR videos, and the result is what you're watching right now. Let's summarize everything we've gathered from this. Here is an LF2 player who has been presenting his own tool-assisted LFR gameplay as legit since 2018 or earlier. He did this by taking the time and effort to splice his own video recordings before uploading to YouTube and Bilibili. One day, in 2021, he found himself sharing the spotlight with a fellow LF2 player on YouTube. Instead of working together, he decided to implicate that player publicly for not labeling their LFR videos as TAS. An implication that he himself is even more guilty of, because he took deliberate steps to avoid doing so, whereas that other player had only done so out of negligence. And even after all this, he still has the cheek to continue presenting his own tool-assisted LFR gameplay as legit, giving an excuse that he's exploiting a so-called AI bug. Therefore, given all these facts, I hereby conclude that Starzlight is a liar, a cheater, and a hypocrite. On that note, I'd like to leave this video with a message to Starzlight. Now, I believe that people should be judged by the same standards they use to judge other people. That's part of why I made this video, but I also believe that people should be given a chance to make amends. Therefore, 星光闪电，请你把你所有的游戏录制标记为 TAS， 写下你用了什么技术，别再浪费时间去编辑你的视频了。诚实把 LFR 接口留下来，加上 BGM 就行了。你自己说的对。
所以我们用 TAS 技术制作录像，在分享录像或上传视频的时候，一定要在标题或简介里说明这是个 TAS 视频。这样做也是不去误导这部分不知情的观众。
请实现你所宣扬的话，谢谢。Thank you for watching this video. I hope I don't have to make a video like this again. Let's all strive to make this little community a little better.